Hey everybody, this is Trav. I know it's kind of a weird video, but I'm going to do this video in a way hopefully to help educate people to understand when they go to purchase something. The reason why I'm coming up with this idea is because the gentleman I had a discussion with while I was on Hatfield McCoy's a couple weeks ago, he bought an ACE 325 for his son. He got hosed. That's the way we'll put it. And he also had questions. I hooked him up with a service manual, I hooked him up with some other people and some other stuff to show him that, hey, you don't have a piece of junk. It's the person that had it before you made it a piece of junk. These things are pretty resilient and they're pretty damn good pieces of equipment, but they are maintenance lovers. They do love their maintenance. So when you go ahead and you start looking, hey, I like those ACEs, I think I want one. Well, before you do that, please go out and start reading in the forums. Download the maintenance manual if you can. Do something, start educating yourself so you understand the machine before you purchase it. The reason why I'm telling you this is the more you're educated and you go deal with the seller, the more you can ask more questions and the more you'll finally be comfortable with your purchase. It keeps you being educated against a potential screw over. Okay. First thing out of the bag you always want to ask is, what's the maintenance history? Do you follow the intervals of what Polaris has scheduled? Do you follow your own intervals? What fluids do you use? Do you use OEM fluids? Do you use AMSOA, aftermarket fluids? Whatever. Get to know it. Who does the maintenance? Is it that person? Does it go to a shop? How do you ride it? Do you tow things with it? Is it go to the swamp and play? Or is it a trail rider? Or is it just whatever they use it for? Who rides it? Is it a kid that rides it? Is it an adult that rides it? Is it an older person that rides it? Get to know it. Have the recalls. Have you had any recalls? Have you had recalls fixed? See if there is recalls. In part of your leading up to talking, you'll be able to know. The other thing is upgrades. What kind of upgrades have you done? If you've not done any, that's great. The more plain it is, the better it is for you, because you don't know what type of wiring fool they are. You don't know if they decide to mod something in the inside here and think it's gonna do better. You know, maybe they put different clutch kit in. There's something there in there maybe you need to know about. You don't want to be able to just take this machine, hit the throttle, and not know that, hey, wait a minute, this thing has a heck of a torquey ass, and it just launched me into a tree. It all depends on how the clutch is set up. So that's some things that you need to look at. One thing I will say, and it sticks with me a lot, is when people put in two things. The pictures are of it freshly washed, and it's got water on it. It looks beautiful. To me, every time I've had to deal with one, when I go look at that piece of equipment in front, it's hiding something in those pictures, i.e. bad plastic, cracks, leaks, whatever. I want you to send me a dry picture. I want you to send me what it looks like in its normal state. When somebody puts just serviced, you can trip them up when you ask them the question of what your intervals are. Well, if you find out, hey, it was just serviced, but yet I changed my oils every 35 hours, but yet it was an hour 10, that leaves you to believe, hey, something might not be right. Because when I purchase something, it automatically goes to my lift, and when it goes to my lift, I drain the fluids because I want to see what it looks like. And it doesn't matter if it has new fluids. I don't care what they put in there. I'm going to put my fluids in there that I like. So that will help you, because each one of these has a magnetic plug, and that will be something you can identify if your differential or your transmission or your engine has started to do shavings. You can see the little lint, the fuzzy kind of stuff. It's not real lint, it's mud, dirt, and everything else, but it'll help you. That's why I prefer, hey, if you're going to service it, just wait. If I purchase it, I'll service it. Don't worry about changing the oil. Don't worry about changing the fluids, the filters, nothing. I want to do it. That'll help you. That'll also get you tied in better with the machine so you can understand it more. Now, from here, what we're going to do is we're going to do our walk around. I'm going to explain things to look for. I'm going to explain things that I got burned on, and I'm going to explain certain other things that'll help you maybe look forward to what you want to do. Certain upgrades are great. Some upgrades are kind of, you don't want to really waste the money on it. Some things are hard to get a hold of. Some things are easy to get a hold of. But all in general, I highly recommend if you are somebody that likes to ride a Polaris and you don't want to have a two-seater, go find you a ding 570, a 325, or a 900, or an RS1. Preferably, I'd love to have an RS1, but the problem is I don't have that big of a bank account. My 570 does perfect. I like the 900, it's okay, but it's not much different than my 570. It's just a little bit more horsepower, and for climbing ability, this thing does great. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start doing the walk around. We're going to walk from front to the back, top to the bottom. Hang in there. Okay, this is the front of the ACE. So basically, in a nutshell, when you start inspecting, you kind of take a look at your A-arms. You make sure that your A-arms are okay. Make sure that nobody's welded stuff to them and silly. You'll see in the picture of mine. Check kind of like what your joints look like. Go back through, double check everything else. Then come up here, just walk around and look at it, see what the wiring looks like. Whoever put in the lights, make sure that their wiring is okay and some stuff like that. So you want to just come back down here, you want to look at the wiring for the lights. You want to double check, see what your radiator looks like, see what your fluid looks like. Check the back of your winch. You want to look at that, see what it looks like. And then see your steering boot. You want to make sure you got no rips, tears, or anything in there. Make sure it's stiff. You'll notice that like over here, you have a little wobble. That's the Polaris wobble. That's normal. And then you just want to look around and then do other stuff and then check, you know, take a look at your brakes. See what the brakes look like. Check the rotors, make sure they're okay. Look at the springs, make sure your springs don't have any cracks or anything. Make sure that everything is up there, your bushing is still healthy. Definitely make sure that your roll cage has definitely got all its bolts still in there and there's no cracks on it. Just kind of follow the tube of the frame. Go back around, just looking around. And you do this on the same side. And you just be comfortable with looking at it. Okay? Because like I said, this is you looking at it. Then you come down here also and you take a look at your front diff, and you want to make sure that your front diff has not got any leaks or anything out of the ordinary. Okay, make sure everything looks fine and happy. And as you're walking around, you go ahead and you look into the cockpit or the riding area or whatever you want to call it, the command center. Then you want to see, hey, I see most of the stickers are here, some awesome cool stickers. And then you just kind of go around, you check your steering. Is your steering tight? Is it wobbly? Is there a bushing problem? And then you go back through and you're just looking at switches and you're making sure everything's there. And you just kind of double check your webbing, if it comes with the pockets. Make sure that there's no spots broken off on your roof if you get one with a roof. Just kind of double check all the way around. And you go back through and you want to make sure you got your plastics pretty much healthy. There's nothing out of the ordinary. Check your seat. One thing I will say that is kind of funny with these seats, that is all the way back on mine. But the one issue is mine was because somebody who weighed a truckload got in here and bent the seat back. I know they can go further back because you'll see how much mine sticks out. That's still a work in progress. Okay, and you just kind of like look at the switches. And then you'll see in the pictures, if you can take the seat out, take this back access panel that sits right here out, right here. You can take this panel out and you can see the engine. Then you check like the seat belts, see what the seat belts look like. Just slowly looking around, just making sure your seat belt's the way it is. And then you come back here to the engine compartment and transmission. You look around and, oh my goodness, my cover's missing. I'll get to that later. But anyways, you just kind of look around and make sure everything's okay. Check these. These are your little nipples. These are your drain nipples. I'll get to that in a second. And then you just kind of look down. Now, one thing you will notice through here is where my fingers are, is where my voltage regulator used to be. We'll get to that, but if it was there, you double check it and you make sure that the wiring is okay and it routes back the way it's supposed to. And then while you're down here, you go ahead and you grab your prop shaft and you just kind of play with it a little bit, slap it around and go, hey, my bearings are gone and my prop shaft is bad. Well, that's life. And then you come back over here Check the axle, make sure that it's okay. Look around here and make sure to see if you see any new grease on here, or has it been greased regularly or anything like that. The same with the prop shaft. Your prop shaft has one too. So then you just kind of walk around some more. You take a little look-see and you look up there and just make sure that it all looks pretty much normal. And if there's extra wires ran, just make sure that they're at least secured, and if they've got conduit on it and stuff like that. So then, as you're coming around here, you come to the back end. You kind of look at the suspension. You see if it's got any droop, sags, one side longer than the other, one side shorter than the other, any extra welds or dents or something completely that doesn't look right. You come back up here, you look at your exhaust. Make sure you got your shield in there, unless you've got like somebody put an Evo kit or something different. And you check back here in your brakes, your rotor area. Now the one thing about the Ace is it has 4 brakes all the way around, like some of the 4-wheelers only have 2 brakes up front and 1 in the ass. So that's something to be mindful. You've got 4 brakes on here. So then you go around here and you're looking around. Now I have my box on here, but if not, there's a center panel that sits right below. Pull it out. There's an air filter housing sitting right there. You can pull that out and go with it. Check your air filter, make sure it's okay. So then we go to the top up here, and this is the Cuda Brown roof. Make sure it's all not okay, not cracked up and nasty. And just basically in a nutshell, you're doing the same thing. You just walk around and you look. That's it. When you go to service it, your front, you can service it right here through this side, and then back on your transmission, there's a service spot. You drain the fluid out, but you service it right here. And then your engine, the difference, how you can tell a real, like a 570 and a 325. You're on a 570, your oil filter's outside. 325, your air filter's on the inside. It'll be a little housing sitting right there. Okay, you just kind of come in, and then you can check your oil, look around for leaks, check the boots, make sure the boots ain't all cracked up, check your exhaust, make sure all that's okay, make sure you got all your springs. Come back here, make sure that the bolts for the frame and for the roll bar are all still there, and your sidebar, because your sidebar goes like this, and that's part of the roll cage setup. Okay, then you come down here and you look at your hose, make sure your hoses are okay, the normal stuff. Now this is the stuff that you'll find while you're walking around. Now when you get looking, and if you want, you got a center access panel. Okay, and this center access panel normally has pins in there, but the pins, I've pulled them out because I gotta do some little stuff. But then you come down here and you take a look at the spaghetti mess, and remember one thing: when your air is coming in from your radiator fan, it sits right there. That's where your radiator is. So all that heat's going to come back here. So don't put anything in here that is having a chance to melt. That's the one thing you definitely want to be mindful of. But right here is your bus. You have a negative terminal and 2 positive terminals. I recommend if you hook anything up, you do it through this, not straight shot to the battery. The reason why is because it's main for the power distribution of everything. So I put in everything I have, I put it through there, except for one light switch. But other than that, you put everything in there. It has a nice little setup right here for where you can go ahead and put your winch. Let me make sure my finger's not on there. But for your winch relay, goes right there. I put mine in. I put a KFI winch in this, and haven't had any issues out of it. Okay. So pretty much, you look, make sure your hinges is okay, double check. These are prone to rusting, so you'll want to pull them off and clean them and rust them. I have my winch boot here instead of putting it up there. Some people have it set off the side or take out the 12 volt to do it. I didn't, because I have the switch right here. But we'll get more into what I've done for the added mods. But those are helpful things to keep an eye out for. Now, when we go down here underneath, let's take a look. Okay, you got your typical plastic. Just make sure that all your bolts are there, no cracks, nothing out of the ordinary. Then you can look up here, see if there's any damage on your frames. You can also double check your A-arms, check and feel if you got any dents, dings, or potential boo-boos. And then you just do the same thing back here. Okay? And once you're done back there and everything's comfy, then you can go ahead and make your idea of whether or not you want to purchase the product or negotiate a different price or anything like that. Your battery sits underneath your seat, underneath that compartment. You can check and see what the battery looks like. This is your fuel tank. It's easy to go ahead and replace out your fuel pump if it goes bad. And then you have the drive shaft that goes all the way from back here all the way up there to your diff. In a later video, I'm going to show you how to do that. One last thing I really forgot to tell you about. This is your stator wire going to your rectifier. You want to make sure that you check and make sure that the wires are healthy here at the terminals. And you want to make sure that there's no water inside there. You want to make sure it's completely sealed. And if you need to, take it apart, make sure there's dielectric grease, what have you in there, because this is right here is the biggest culprit problem of where you'll have a burnout. Okay? Just thought I'd run that in there. I forgot all about it. Okay. Now that we've got a good view of what the ACE is and what she looks like, I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell you what got me. First thing out of the bag, the A-arms. You'll see in the picture below, off to this side, a picture of what my A-arms look like that came off. So I went ahead and I was deciding, hey, I'm going to do the 1.5 forward from Super ATV. Problem, didn't set up. I got shipped two of them, two different sets, because we thought it was a bad manufacturing flaw. Come to find out, it is because the 2015, the way it is configured up front, there is not enough room. Some people have done it, but I've also gotten a lot of people that said it didn't work. It also depends on the year, what part of the year it was manufactured. Believe it or not, mine was manufactured in 2014. The guys that I've talked with, most of them that have had it where it worked was on the 2015 true year builds. So the Super ATV for the 2015 depends if your machine is built in 2015. Don't ask me why, I just know it from experience. The biggest problems I had was a clearance issue on the A-arm. It was right up against it. The second thing was my toe. Trying to get my wheels aligned, I could not do it. My toe and my tires were still sticking way out. So that made it an impossibility to even use. Okay, so that was the first thing. The second thing I found that was bad was my front diff. I had a crack on top. Basically, the front diff was destroying itself. It's kind of weird. It's very uncommon, but it did. It neutered itself, which required me to replace it. I was going to go ahead and rebuild it, but after talking with a few people, it wasn't worth it. So I went ahead and purchased a new one from from Partzilla. Okay. Axles, everything was fine. Split them and then just repacked them. Went ahead from there. I replaced that drive shaft, but we're going to be doing a video in the next couple weeks after I put this back up on the lift, and I'm going to have to replace them again. The reason why is because when I did the bearing replacements, the U-joint replacements on the drive shaft, for some reason the bearing or the U-joints that were sent to me were not the ones I wanted. It was only what they did, and they refunded me half of what my price was because they couldn't get it due to supply issues. And then the second thing was the old prop shaft I had, when I was going and removing the old U-joint out of it, I was having a heck of a time. So what happened was I went, and if you notice the color, that is the other culprit reason why. And when I do the video, just remember what I'm going to be talking about in the later video. Now, the other thing, primary and secondary both had to be replaced. Why? Inside here was just chewed all to hell. There was like a rock or something that got in there on the face. No matter what, I couldn't get refaced. The second thing is the helix in here was damaged, and on the inner side, both of the knobbies, one of them looked like they'd been ripped. So it told me there was a lot of stress that was coming between here. Luckily, there's no damage with the transmission. I knew that for a fact after bore scoping it and looking through everything I could. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Now, this is all after I'd purchased it, okay? The reason why this is off now is because I got to replace the seal. If you notice how the seal is, these seals are good, but for some reason this last ride, I had a bunch of mud and water get up in there, and I wasn't riding through mud, but I had hit a couple mud puddles and it got up in there. So I had to pull, I've got the seal on order. The sway arm is at your discretion. Some people leave them on, some people take them off. Mine was seized. They hadn't greased it, and if you notice, there's a grease fitting. It took a whole bunch of WD-40 and everything to finally get it to where it would come down, because I noticed my suspension on the SN was kind of funny. Okay, so there's the other stuff. Oh, I ended up replacing all 4 wheel bearings, because all 4 wheel bearings were sounding like they were grinding corn when you'd get up in speed, and there were some other issues. Now, here we go with the engine. When I got it, it had a little bit of a hesitant, kind of didn't sound right. So what it ended up being was the timing chain was bad, the jug was bad, and the cylinder was bad, or the piston was bad. So I had to have those replaced. Luckily, I have a gentleman down here, and his name is Bruce Klein, and he has Carolina custom ATVs based out of Andrew, North Carolina. If you ever have a Polaris issue, that is the man to run to. Heck, if you have a Can-Am issue, that is the man to run to. He's local. His prices are very good. He's a very good person to deal with, talk with. He doesn't talk above you. He talks with you. He's not egocentric like some people I've met in this community. Ooh, trust me, anybody who's been in the ATV community knows. Okay, after getting my engine back, she's happy as a little pig. So, now it leaves to this. This is your primary pain in your ass. If anybody is a owner, this right here is your problem child. You'll see in the pictures what happened. I ended up going with the RM stator rectifier and an RM stator stator and an RM stator voltage regulator. The reason why, I had almost a fire in here in my garage, and this was the week before I was leaving. The problem was is the demand. When you put such a demand on this engine, this thing gets hot, and I mean cooking hot. Well, being down here, you've got mud and dirt, and it comes up in here and it'll pack it. So you could be thinking, well, when I get back, I'm gonna clean it. No, if you get mud and dirt up there, you might as well clean it then. So carry like a 1 gallon handle pump sprayer. Works really good. But the thing is, for riding conditions that we do up in Hatfield McCoy's, I wanted to make sure I never had to worry about it again. So I put this in, and ever since I've had it, I have not had any issues. But I will say one thing to go with that: put you a voltage gauge in your dash. I have a video on how to do that. It's really easy, real simple. I got this off of Amazon, did the wiring, everything's been fine. Because what this will show you is when you're running, and if let's say you're at idle and you bring on all the lights and everything, it'll show you the drop in your voltage. It'll also show you like when you're riding out normal and you can't hear the fan because it is a loud little pig. It'll let you know that, hey, your fan's coming on. You'll drop by usually about 5 volts, 0.5 volts. Okay, that was the other saving grace that I used for my charging system, because in your dash you do not have that. Okay, you have tach, hour, maintenance meter, clock, speed, temperature, water temperature, and that's about it. And then you get your codes, and it'll tell you like an engine check light, but you've seen enough of those videos. Okay, so that was pretty much the reason why I got hosed on mine. And the other end result was this. This is your air inlet. You have two of them. You have one that goes to CVT, and then you have another one that goes into your actual air intake of the engine. It goes back through there and goes back into this. Okay, the problem is when they're nice design, but what happens is when you splash up and everything, you have, I'll put it back here for a second, but you have this screen which helps lock it, and you have this which will help, but still stuff will get in there. But you just got that little bitty hole sitting right down there. You can't barely see it, but that's where that nipple right here helps clean it out. Well, the problem is the people that had it before me, they never cleaned it, so there was mud clear up to here. And the air inlet, if you look, is right here. So what happened was there was stuff still coming in, and that was part of the issue that happened down here. So be mindful of part of your maintenance is to always make sure that these are clean. Okay? But you have two of them. You have one on this side, and you have one on the other side. And that was the biggest issue that I had, that I noticed when I was tearing apart the first time. Okay, all in all, that is about it for the things I found wrong with mine, and I did not find them until I got home. Things you would not really have found until you started tearing into the machine. Okay, next thing is little add-ons that I put on, future things I'm talking about, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, I run 2 GPSs in my machine. I have a Garmin ST64, and I run a regular little mini Garmin that sits right here. This is my backup. This is my primary. It has loaded all of the trails of the Hatfield McCoy, and it's one of the nicest things to have. I went with a half shield. The reason why is this gets hot. Especially on a day that's anywhere above 80, you're going to be barbecuing in here. I had a full screen. The full screen kept the air in here, and then dust would circulate in here, but it wouldn't leave, and the heat of the air would basically barbecue you, and by the time you got done, you were like a smoked little pig. So then I went ahead and I pulled out right here used to be a rear view mirror. Well, it's okay, but the problem is I don't like that, because I don't like keep looking up. So I went with the side mirrors. These are Kimimoto's, very good. But what I recommend is put any kind of water repellent on there, and that'll keep the mud from doing it. Second thing was I put on here to help is I have a LED light pole, and I have it wired straight down into through there, and it goes off the battery. You're not really supposed to, but hey, I'm not going to run wire all the way back up into there, but I also didn't butch anything. I have camera mount for my GoPro in the rear. I have my camera mount for my GoPro in the front. A handle. A friend of mine, Dave, gave it to me. It works really good, especially like if you're getting real bumpy things and you want to like move your butt around or something while you're driving. It makes a big difference to help you around. The other thing I switched up to was I put these on here. I put this nice little ACE harness on here, and it has been a great thing, because the other way is the old conventional car one basically came down here in a triangle and then crossed over here. I didn't like it, didn't feel safe, especially if you had a shot of being rollover. I put these inlight lights on here, wired it through into the terminal like I was talking about down in here, and then I ran the light switch right there. The nice thing is also with that light bar, it only comes active when the ignition is turned, so you don't have to worry about leaving your lights on. I'm running Kinder Bear Claws. These are great, all kind of basically riding. The only thing they kind of suck on is pavement, and that is because you don't have a whole square footing on there. But when it comes to loose rocks, gravel, sand, mud even, all kinds of dirt, they work really good. I also went ahead, and you'll see the spacers on the shocks. I put that PCK kit on here and made it a little stiffer, but then I also got about an inch raise. I have a video on that. You can go through, you can watch it. Okay, so those are the little upgrades I've done. Oh, and the clutch, I went ahead and put on a little bit better weights. That was pretty much it, because like I said, I want to keep it as stock as possible just for my riding. And then I put my box. Now in my box, let me grab this, put this off to the side. This box I got off of eBay, but it has everything in here. I have my crash bag, I have spare underwear, all that crap in there, toe straps, everything I need when I'm out there. And it's a great little recovery box. Then I have my little mini igloo, can hold 6-pack of cans of soda or Gatorade. It can hold up to 4 of the little mini Gatorades comfortably, and then you put ice on it. You can ride all day. How do I keep it strapped in? With those. Okay, so I know somebody's going to ask. But other than that, in a nutshell, that is kind of like a mini review of what to look for when you have a Polaris ACE. All in all, a very good, comfortable machine, very dependable, and very reliable. But it also, be mindful what to look for and things that will go bad.